Hey, well, good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. Today is all focused on residencies, and so we're really excited. The application is in process. Hopefully, you all are in the process of looking through your things and getting your packets together. And so what we're going to do here today is just kind of go through a real quick overview and then leave a lot of time for question and answer. So if you have any additional questions, now is the time to ask them all and to get all the tools that you need to be ready to apply. So just a little bit of housekeeping. Everybody is going to be in listen only mode for now. And so what we plan on doing is just having this available as well. So if you have missed any of this session, it will be recorded, and any other issues, please always feel free to reach out to events@aanmc.org for more, for any assistance. So tonight, introduction. And which we'll be doing, we'll go through the application, tips for becoming a strong applicant, what the match is and how that works, a little bit on going across borders for residency, creating a new residency, and post-match applications before we go into Q&A. So with that, with us today, we have the residency directors from the programs who sponsor and support our residencies here. So Dr. Gary Garcia from Bastyr, Dr. Dee Saunders at NUNM. Dr. Carino was not able to join us today. She is with us in spirit, and she also offered any ability to answer any questions via email later on. And Dr. Kevin Barnett from Sonoran. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Saunders.
Thank you, Dr. Yanez, and welcome everybody, and thank you for coming. I'm going to recap just a couple of pieces that we mentioned in our info session back in fall, because that really detailed a lot of what phase 1 is all about. And phase 2 is just about ready to start here on February 1st, so just in a couple of days. So over the last couple of months, you've been able to execute some of the things from our last session, like creating a profile, exploring some of the past residency sites that are posted in there like a repository, because we haven't had any open positions for folks that are graduating this June posted quite yet. You've been preparing documents, and you've also been able to register your credit card. And now it's phase 2 time. It's an application time to finalize your packets and submit. Dr. Yanez, next slide, please. So this just recaps it in a nice infographic style, but that's the website that hopefully everyone's had an opportunity to create an account. That's the AANMC residency portal. Creating an account is easy. Exploring residencies using the employers tab, that's past residencies. And you've been able to start preparing documents and loading things to your library. And the little picture on the right there, required documents, just a reminder that it's a CV. A personal statement. There are 3 essays, your scanned NPLEX 1 results, or a document saying that you are about to take them here in February will suffice if you do not have results. And these are just photocopies, not official documents from NABNY. And 3 faculty evaluations. So hopefully you've been able to send off your using the system to send off to 3 different evaluators. If you haven't done that yet, I highly recommend getting on it this week. And requesting your official school transcript. Dr. Yanez, next slide, please. This is the recap of phase 2, which is about what we're about to start here. You actually could have done this step in phase 1, but you can register your credit card on the portal, and directions are in the how-to document for that, which is located in your resource library on the portal. And registering your credit card does not get you charged right now. So while it is $49 per application, all that's going to happen after the window closes for applications and we tally up everything. So just registering your card right now will not trigger a charge to your card. You can submit your applications to specific sites once they reveal themselves on February 1st. And then you'll wait for the interview period that starts on March 21st. Next slide, please. This is just a list. This is a really important slide to get the dates on. Really, I recommend putting these reminders on whatever calendar system that you use. With the most important pieces in here that people forget to do are February 22nd is the deadline for all of your evaluations and transcripts to be in from your registrar and from your evaluators. So that's why I was saying you want to get on asking them this week, because that will give them just 2 to 3 weeks to complete your evaluation if you haven't already taken this step. The second really big can't miss deadline is March 1st. And that's when you need to submit your credentials order that my colleague, Dr. Garcia, will tell you about here in a moment. And then after that order is submitted and completed, then and only then will you be able to submit a complete application. You'll need that document, that credentials document, to submit to each site. So that's why these deadlines are in place. And if we miss them, you won't have the documents necessary for that March 8th deadline. And then we pass off the applications to the sites and they review them and they can start contacting you as early as March 21st. For interviews, that ends on the 5th. Rank lists will be submitted on the 12th. More information will come about how to do that much closer to that date, May 12th. Sorry, I don't know if I said March. And then May 19th is match day. All right, and so the overview, basically this is just written out step by step of some of the same bullet points, but starting February 1st, Wednesday, you'll be able to view the open residencies. This is different than going to the employer tab and looking at all of the past residencies that are in the system. You can still be requesting evaluations. You can follow up with your evaluators if you've already requested them. You can upload all of your documents to your resource, to your own personal library that serves as a repository of all your documents. And you'll be wanting to write different essays for potentially different sites to maybe share specific information about yourself that applies to that specific site. So you may have a bunch of different documents. You label them accordingly. You'll create your credentials order, you'll submit your application and prepare for interviews and your match list. And that's the end of my slides. And I will, I believe, pass it to Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Dr. Saunders. So I have about 3 or 4 slides here that's really important. It's about the credentials order. And this is where some students get really confused in terms of what exactly is a credential order. Where a credential order is actually an order that you send to the committee to collate your faculty evaluations and transcript into a single confidential file. It's really important that you understand this. And next slide, please. And how to submit a credential order. This pretty much enumerates the specific steps. You have to be logged in first, of course, then go to your credentials portion, click on the orders, make sure you add new, and then there are drop-down menus. Now, you only really need to submit 3 faculty evaluations. Please don't submit more than 3 faculty evaluations in a school transcript, because that tends to delay the process. We've had students in the past that had requested for 4 or 5 faculty evaluations, and students just would submit all 4 or 5 evaluations. Committee will not process it. They will connect with you and ask you to select which of the 3 faculty evaluations are you really going to submit as part of your credentials order. That's really important. If you don't follow instructions, there's going to be a delay. And of course, then once you've selected the 3 faculty evaluations and transcript, you're going to have to submit orders that'll contain all these 4 documents. Next slide, please. Now, you will only need to really submit 2 credential orders at the most. If you're applying, for example, to the home university, such as the Bastyr Clinic here in Washington, we request students or faculty not to submit an evaluation for students if they're applying internally to our clinic-based program. However, if you're applying to a different institution, then that would be fine. So in theory, you could have 1 credential order wherein the intent is to apply internally to the Bastyr Center program here at Washington, And the other would be to all other applications outside of the Bastyr Center for Natural Health in Washington. Again, you want to make sure that you in each of those 2 orders and 2 orders only, you only have 3 faculty evaluations and one transcript. It's not necessary to have an order for each site that you're applying to. Only need 2. Next slide, please. And I believe Dr. Saunders had covered this earlier. Make sure that you register your credit card. Really, it's just putting your credit card. If you happen to have registered a card that you feel that is probably going to be that may expire before you get charged, please update that information. Again, we want to avoid any delays. The application fee, and this is per site, is $49, and you will only get charged once the deadline has passed on March 8th. That's the only time you can apply and not apply to as many sites as you want. But after the deadline, whatever sites that are on record in the portal as you've applied to, then you're going to charge for each of those sites. Now, make sure that you plan in terms of travel costs, etc. And be aware that the match is a different portal. And there'll be more instructions, as Dr. Saunders had mentioned earlier. There'll be more instructions about the match itself, and it's a different fee. It's $50. I believe this, I'll hand this over now to Dr. Burnett.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, applications are reviewed by the residency directors and the teams that they put together. They're looking at a variety of issues like GPA, the research you've been involved in, your teaching experience, leadership, clinical experience. Recommendations are reviewed together. They will extend or not extend the interview invitation. Applicants will be contacted for those as each site decides. So next slide. Interviews are important. This is your chance to make an impression on the whole group that's going to be making decisions and ranking you. So it's really important to make a good presentation and dress professionally, be on time, come prepared for questions. Each site might have different things. They might have questions. They might have scenarios to ask you. So get a good night's sleep the night before. They'll probably be mostly virtual. So make sure everything's working ahead of time, test it out, and maybe do I know I've done test things ahead of the time to make sure that everything is going to work. So next. So it's a chance to start building your CV early. The leadership skills and activities are important. Try to make your grades are important, but try to make your presentation fit the site that you're going to. So for example, teaching experience, that sort of thing is probably going to be more important at an institution that you're applying to, like one of the colleges, whereas an affiliate site, you would want to tailor it to fit that site to show that you fit there. Don't put everything on grades. They are important, but they're going to look at you holistically. So put your application together, present yourself according to how you want to be presented that fits. Your teaching and research background is important, probably more important at the institutional sites than they are at the affiliate sites. Relevant experiences that also fit the site that you're looking to. This one here, the private clinics, the preceptorships, I think is super important that not just to participate in this match, but that the match is actually made appropriately, that you do match up with the site and it's a good match. That it's so how would you know that unless you go to visit, that you're going to be happy there and that they feel they have much better information by meeting you in person and interacting with you, that they would be able to make an accurate ranking so that things go well later. Next one. The portal opens on May 5th. So, and it closes on May 12th. The times are going to be held pretty strictly. I just want to take this chance to emphasize that you don't wait until the last minute. There's a lot of problems in the past that we've had with last minute things. So days ahead, preferably. Don't wait till the last minute. Just want to really emphasize that. Applicants should be only submit the names of the sites where they're interested in, because you're going to be held to that. So please just really only do the ones that you're truly interested in. You really want to be committed to it. Only list the sites that you intend to accept it, because if you don't, there's ramifications for that, and you might get knocked out of being able to apply for residencies in the next, what is it, 2 years, 1 year, 2 years. So, and if you matched and declined the position, you cannot reapply for that 2 years. There it is. I didn't read ahead.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes. So thank you, Dr. Burnett. I'm going to go to the next slide now in just a minute, but I really do want to emphasize what Dr. Burnett said here with the match process. I know that we're not quite at match yet, and we will talk about that more, but start to think really truly about where you would want to go. And so as you're going through your application and your interview process, really interview the sites as well as they are interviewing you. One of the things from Dr. Burnett's last slide just prior that I also wanted to cover is really important. I have heard from sites in the past where, the applicant does a really great interview and they have a wonderful time, and maybe they are not as professional with the office staff. And the office staff often always gets asked, about the applicants, what was your interactions? And so you're being interviewed by the entire practice. You're being interviewed by everybody. And so your professionalism starts from the moment you start interacting till the moment you finish interacting. So just kind of think of it in that totality, not just, oh, I have to prepare for an interview. It's really the entire package. So thank you, Dr. Burnett. Thank you all for that. So I'm just going to take a real quick moment. As we said, Dr. Carino from CCNM is actually on an airplane right now. She was not able to make it, but the cross-border residencies is something that we often get asked and want to address. So if you are an American citizen, can you apply to a Canadian residency and vice versa? The answer is yes, but there is the possibility of doing residencies across the border. Students have done that in the past. However, it is complicated, it can be costly, and it is time consuming for the resident applicant. Any legal costs for obtaining visas, work permits, etc., are borne by the applicant, not the program. And so that is just something to keep in mind if you are looking at residencies in other countries from the one that you are legally a resident of or allowed to work in. And there can be, we've seen with the pandemic, there have been travel restrictions, there have been visa restrictions and so on. And so it's just something to keep in mind that, may weigh on one end of the scale of your application. So you will not be refunded for residency applications. So if you apply for residency and the site doesn't accept you, or you interview at the site and decide you don't want to go there, there are not going to be refunds for those applications. So just be really clear on where you want to be, where you want to interview to, and just understand that that's all part of the process. So I think Dr. Saunders was going to take it on from here.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So people always ask, well, is this it? Is the match, if I don't match, do I get another opportunity? Are there other postings throughout the year? And the answer is yes and yes. So first, what we call the post-match. After our match day in May, though there are usually sites that do not end up with a match because the person got paired off somewhere else of the ones that they ranked. And there are usually students that did not match as well. And so many sites are opt to repost their opening. So we kind of do what we call the second round. Additionally, new sites maybe become available also that reach out to us, or as we're doing outreach, we might onboard and get them approved to be an accredited residency site, but we don't get it in time for them to participate in the match deadlines to give you all an opportunity to apply, et cetera. So new sites are also posted actually kind of throughout the year. So if you've been on the portal at all, you may have seen some open sites in the last month or two for people who are already licensed, though. And so there are other opportunities should you not be able to decide currently that you want to engage in a residency, or should you not match in the May match period. Next slide, please. And this is just our recap slide for everything that we've been talking about in phase 2, which kicks off on Wednesday. Do your due diligence. Like Dr. Yanez said, really research the sites, make sure you're interviewing them. Are you a match interpersonally for the way they provide feedback or communicate? Do they communicate quickly or sharply? And maybe you prefer a different communication style. Do they practice philosophically the way that you're interested in learning? Do you really want to live in that city? All of those pieces. Do your due diligence. You can view your available residency positions under the Open Residency tab starting Wednesday. Definitely get on those transcripts and evaluations. And once you see these sites open and you know that that's where you want to apply, start tweaking those personal statements and essays that you've been working on over the last couple of months, and try to make them unique to that site, and then label it. So site A, essays. And then when you upload that into your library, your own repository in the portal, when you go to apply to site A, you'll be able to choose from everything that you've uploaded, and you'll grab all of your site A documents. It's just a way to make it personal. If you know you're applying to a place that specializes in women's health, hopefully your essays or personal statement is really convincing as to why women's health, why you're the right person for this position versus maybe a primary care site. And you may choose to apply to both because both would be amenable to you. So those are some of the things you can be doing now. Create your credentials order that Dr. Garcia went over. Submit your applications, prepare for your interviews, and prepare your match list. And if you take anything away from today, I'd like you to put all those dates in your calendar so that they do not sneak up on you. And that's it. Back to you, Dr. Yanez.
Thank you. Yes, we every year do get an email or two or more from students who have missed deadlines, and the deadlines are solid deadlines. So just please set all the alerts, set all the calendar reminders that you need, have all of the different ways that you know how to manage your time to keep those in mind. So where can you get more information? Here is the website for the residency portal. You're likely already familiar with that. There are frequently asked questions regarding residencies as well. We do have, and this was new this year, and I can't believe we didn't even mention this earlier, but this is a big thing. We had Naturopathic Residency Week this year, and there are about 23, 24 videos on our YouTube channel from various different sites who want you to know more about them. And so this is a really great way to just start to check out the sites. One of the things Dr. Saunders had mentioned earlier was due diligence. And so, sites are going to want to know that you did your homework. Are you really interested in them? And do you know about their site? Do you know why they're special? Do you know why they're a good opportunity? So I really hope that you take this to heart and start to get excited about your future as a resident and do all of the things that are necessary to understand how to make the best out of it. So we also have a lot of this on Instagram as well. So if you can follow us there, that would be fabulous. So ANMC hosts events. Some of you may have started these before you were a student. So if you have any friends or loved ones who you think would enjoy coming to our events for prospective students. So the Heart Health with Dr. Hannah Gordon is going to be in a couple of weeks. And these are geared to prospective students and folks maybe in your position right now, not so much doctorate level, but definitely really, I think the goal of all of these are all of the different ways that you can practice as a naturopathic doctor. And so as you're chewing on what your future likes, looks like, some of these videos may help you understand what a primary care doctor does for heart health. So, so anyway, these are the upcoming events. And with that, we're going to go shift into Q&A now. So I would like to, if possible, keep all of the questions in the Q&A tab. So I saw one came in through the chat. If you can put your questions into the Q&A, this way all of us can kind of see them and track them and keep that going. So we're going to open up questions now from the audience. So please feel free to start to type in some questions that you may have for our panel.
Hey, Joanne, while students are trying to put the questions together, I'd probably like to emphasize what Dr. Saunders had mentioned earlier about the resume, the personal statement, and you know, and the answers to the essays. I mean, to the essay questions. It's really important that you download the instructions because it's very specific. For example, at the selection committee level, we always want to make sure that students are following instructions in terms of font size, page numbers. You know, we've had some submissions where the essays are a page and a half or 2 pages long, where the essay only requires 1 page per question. So that means if you don't follow the page requirement, then you're not, you know, you're not that detail oriented. So it already is a tell on your work ethic. It's really important that you pay attention to all of these instructions.
All right, so we have some questions coming in. So I'm going to triage a few of these, and anybody on the panel can jump in here. So one of the questions Amanda asked, is there a way for us to reach out or see who the current residents are at the schools or clinics to as part of that due diligence?
I'd probably suggest that you connect with the individual school residency directors, of which that particular site is connected with, because they will have the list of current residents or residents who had recently graduated from the program.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Is there a deadline for sites to be posted to the open residencies tab? Great question, Darian. Who would like to take that one?
See, the deadline is usually, we want to make sure that there's enough time for the site that's posted late to be able to actually interview applicants. And I don't have the actual date here, but it used to be in the past about 2 to 3 weeks before the actual end of the interview period was the old deadline from last year. Reason for that is we want to make sure that when a new site that wasn't posted earlier, like on February 1st, maybe the site has been fence sitting for a while, making sure they have the appropriate resources, make sure that they have the appropriate requirements that will make them a good residency sites, and they say, okay, now we're good, it's already February 28th, for example. They can still be posted, but we want to make sure that there's ample time for all the students to look at that site and be able to at least apply and submit their documents. So probably say a good rule of thumb is about 2 to 3 weeks before the end of the interview period.
I'm looking that up. It's just hard for me to toggle between all the screens here and the questions. So there's a question here. Can you describe further the late application round works?
I'll take that. I'm not sure exactly what the question is, but I will say that from our process after match day, which is May 19th, we reach out to the sites to tell them who they matched with. And if they did not match with anyone, we usually give them a week or 2 to get back to us to tell us that they would like to repost. And based on that deadline, we gather all the sites that want to repost, and we repost them on the portals. So about a week or 2 after match day, and we send out an email so that you know that these opportunities have been posted, and we will present the timeline for applying when when we get there. I don't want to discuss those dates now because that's really just going to mess with people's thought processes for this current match. But there'll be another thing about submitting your credentials and all of those other pieces. And then sometimes we will have another, other ones that are posted throughout the year. And again, those will have their own set of timelines. As long as you are registered on the application portal, you will get email blasts for all new jobs that do post, whether they're posting during the match, before the deadline that Dr. Garcia was talking about. So right now, if you log in on February 1st and you see that there are, 20 sites, there's gonna be more than that, but let's just say there's 20, and then 2 more sites come on board in a week from now, everyone that's in the system will get an email blast saying 2 more sites have been added. So you don't have to keep checking back, you can, but you'll get a notification. The same thing will happen after the match. You'll get notifications that a site has posted, and there'll be individual timelines around those sites at a later date.
Thank you so much. And residency directors as well, feel free if there are answers that you think you can just type in and answer. That's also okay as well. So there is a question about the Sonoran transcripts. Can you please reach out to Dr. Barnett regarding that?
I can answer a little bit quickly.
Okay.
There was confusion. We recently, from the last registrar to this registrar, we have outsourced to a parchment, and there was confusion around that. And the registrar is in contact with all our students about the procedure for that now. So you can ask me, or you can go directly to our registrar to answer that question, get that question answered.
Thank you. There's a question here about faculty evaluations, how those are uploaded, sent to each site, et cetera. Can somebody go into more detail there, please?
I'll tackle that because that's part and parcel of the credential order. First things first, you have to first submit a request to your faculty, and you do that by logging in, going to your credentials, and when you do that, I guess I could easily explain it this way. If Joanne, do I have the opportunity to screen share?
Oh, sure. Let me, I think. Are you able to do that now? There we go.
Let's see. So is everybody seeing this? So I'm logged in here as one of my make-believe students. So the first thing you need to do is you need to go to, let me just fix up the size here. Oops. Well, I was signed in as one of my fake students. I apologize for that. Let me stop my screen share then and go back to this one. This one might be helpful. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. Screen share here. Wrong screen. Sorry. Is everybody seeing this screen?
Yes.
So this is the how-to that that we have on the website. It's really important to follow the steps. The first thing you need to do is go to the go to your log in, go to recommendations, hit recommendations, and then that'll give you now an opportunity to select whether you're asking for a recommendation or a transcript. That's really important. Now, this particular document is available as part of your resources. So just go into it and download it, and you'll be able to download that. And then when putting together credential order, again, go to recommendations, and then go to then follow these key steps. It's pretty straightforward. And once you have completed your orders, it'll be uploaded into the my documents portion. Let's see if I can do this. I think it's much better if I explain it in real time. Let's see. Is everybody seeing this? This is my.
Yes, Dr.
maybe-
Garcia, we can see that.
So again, say you're Ben. Ben's interested in putting together or requesting an evaluation from faculty. Ben goes to this one. That's his initials, BA, Ben A candidate.
Actually,
Those-
we're not seeing that screen, Dr. Garcia. We're still seeing the how-to document. It sounds like you might be live in the portal.
Okay, let me just go ahead and stop that. But let me try this again. Sorry.
And just for the record, I'm seeing some folks posting questions in the chat. Please use the Q&A for questions. Thank you.
So are you seeing this? Make believe.
Yes, you're where you want to be. Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thanks, Dr. Saunders. So again, so go to the initials here, go to your recommendations. And then this is how you request for actual evaluations and transcript. Say you're interested in, say you're a Bastyr student, you're interested in sending a request for a Bastyr transcript. Go to add new. Okay. Now, this is Michael Hall's email. So put in the name, and put in his email address over here. Request would be a transcript because you're requesting for a transcript, not a recommendation. And then put in some comments, make sure you read this, it's really important, and then hit submit. Then Michael will receive that request. Okay. Now, if you're interested in requesting for an evaluation from a faculty member, okay, you say add new again. And put in faculty names. Put in a request, this time faculty recommendation, put comments there. Hey, Dr. Garcia, I'm interested in applying to a residency program. I've been with you for 3 quarters. I spoke to you about this earlier. Please submit a letter of recommendation or an evaluation from me. Make sure you hit that and submit request again. So when that gets filled by Michael or by somebody else, then it'll show up here under completed documents. Then when you're putting an order, that's separate. Putting an order is putting together now your evaluation. So put in your name. Then each put evaluation. So you got a registrar here. That's for your transcript. You have your 3 evaluations. So there's one factor evaluation from Dr. Garcia, another evaluation from Dr. D, and another evaluation from Dr. Carly. And then, as you can see, that's very different. It's in this area here under orders. Then you hit submit. And that will land on the queue line for the committee to look at and review. And if you and everything's all good, they'll process that order and upload it into your documents. And where's your documents? That would be this one here. That's where they'll upload it. And it will show up as a credential file like this. Again, to go to that, my documents, and if it's already processed, if your order is already ordered or processed, then it will show up here as a credential file. Same thing here. If you happen to be applying, say, to a non-Bastyr, non-BUC residency, then it'll be labeled accordingly as well. Okay. So I hope that helps.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. All right, we've got a few more questions here. Can folks speak to the interview process? So I know we can't give you exactly what's going to be asked at every single place that you're going to be applying to, but if maybe a few of the residency directors can talk a bit further on the interview process, please.
I'll give it a start, and then my colleagues can chime in. Every site is different. I would expect some questions at most sites that are medically related to test medical knowledge. I would expect questions about why you're passionate about that specific site and what you might be able to bring to the table. You know, there's a lot of good Google sites for what kind of questions might be asked in a residency interview that might give you some ideas on how to prepare, but they're all different. Dealing with conflict, ambiguity, difficult conversations, you know, things like that. Pretty run of the mill, but having some good examples in your back pocket, it would be helpful. And then I would also say you need to generate your own interview questions and make sure that you use this time to interview that particular site. Specifically, how much time will you have with patients one-on-one, seeing your own patients versus shadowing or other admin things? What is an example of your work week and your schedule? The times of day you're supposed to report to work. Is there weekends? Is there on call? You know, all of those pieces, and really using the opportunity to interview back, you know, interview the site as they are also interviewing you. And I'll turn it over to my colleagues for their input.
That was really good. That fits with what we do very well. I just wanted to say, maybe come with questions for us so that you can get an idea of whether your expectations are matching up with what's going to happen and what your long-term goals are.
Thank you. All right, so there are some questions here about applications. So somebody has asked me repeatedly, so I want to just put this out there. Regarding the application. So my understanding is that there are 3 applications that get submitted. Can somebody speak to what happens if you submit more?
Do you mean evaluations or applications?
Yeah, evaluations. Thank you, Dr.
Okay. Yeah, Dr. Garcia, I think you mentioned it. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, you only need to have 3 evaluations when you submit your credential order. That's really important. You may have requested from 5, 6, 7, 8 faculty members, and maybe 5 of them had responded by the deadline. So now you have a conundrum. Now, what do you do? What do you do now with the 5 faculty evaluations? Well, you're going to have to make a decision. You have to select of that 5 only 3 faculty members that you'd submit as part of your credential order together with your school transcript. You cannot submit all 5 of them in one credential order because the committee will not process it. They will connect with you and say, hey, make a decision. You listed or submitted evaluations from faculty A, B, C, D, and E. What faculty members are you interested in? Is it A, C, and E? Or whatever combination it might be, and that delays the process, because without the credential order being uploaded into your My Documents, you can't apply, because that's going to be a requirement when applying to any site. So it's really important that you pay attention to that. Hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. There's been some questions on NPLEX. So if you have not taken NPLEX 1, can you still apply for the 23-24 cycle? And how do NPLEX 2 scores get submitted?
I got the last part of the question was how do NPLEX 2 get submitted, and they don't. You get your license. So your NPLEX 2 are submitted to your licensing body, and for I would say all of these residencies, it's required that you have that you are licensed, and before the start date, which for most places is October 1st. Dr. Yunus, can you repeat the first
Yes.
question?
So the first question was if you have not yet taken NPLEX 1, and
Oh, great.
if you plan to do that in August or so.
Yeah. So thank you, because I mentioned this briefly, and that's why I decided to field this question. So NPLEX 1, it cannot be taken in August if you're applying this year. So there might be some of you out there that are not graduating this year. So let's just have my answer go towards those who are graduating. You need to be able to sit for NPLEX 2 this August, and you can't sit for both in August, because a requirement to even register for NPLEX 2 is taking NPLEX 1, or is passing NPLEX 1. And so if you haven't yet taken NPLEX 1, hopefully you are registered for it in February. So if that's the case and you don't have that transcript to upload, you upload a PDF or a Word document that says, I have not yet taken the NPLEX 1, but I am registered to take it in February. And then if you do not pass in February for some reason, you will have to rescind any applications that may have been submitted, because I believe results for NPLEX 1 February will come back after or around when applications are due. You just won't qualify to apply to residencies this year. But like I said, there are other residencies that post throughout the year, and we even have December grads and folks that take gap years apply for residency around the next cycle. So it's not all gloom and doom, just for that. But yeah, if you don't have a copy of a past NPLEX 1, just upload a document that says you are registered for February.
Thank you so much. And last question that I'm seeing here is regarding CVs, and should we follow the CV instructions in the FAQ? Talk about CVs, please. What makes a good one?
I'd probably say that the instructions there are really important. I think there's a page limit of, I can't remember if it was 3 or 5. You can't submit a 10-page or a 20-page CV because you have all of those credentials. You're going to have to pick and choose. And the template there is utilized, or is there for you to utilize as a guide. It's really important that you hit all the key areas that's really going to be looked at. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Does anyone else want to jump in with any last words before we close out today's session?
I can't just overemphasize the fact that you really have to pay attention to the deadlines. Students are always getting all they always forget, and I get that. I was a student once. You're thinking about tons of things, your studies, your exams, etc., your shifts, your patients. But this is part of the process, and you want to make sure that you're always paying attention to all of those deadlines, because it's the committee will might not be favorable for your appeal if you say, oh, I missed the deadline because of X, Y, and Z. It may not be a valid reason from a committee perspective. So just avoid that altogether. Make sure that you meet the deadline. The other deadline that's also important is submitting your match list. That's another one. As Dr. Barnett had mentioned earlier, it's a hard deadline because it's a computer system generated open and close portal. So if you don't submit your match list or your site by that deadline, it's going to close out on you. There's nothing you can do. It's not like, oh, can I extend this? No, it's an automatic system.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Yes, it is an automatic system, and we have heard many different types of things in the past, but I think ultimately, this is your chance to put your best foot forward. This is your chance to show your organization skills. This is your chance to show, your clinical skills and your desire to learn. And I'm excited for it. I hope this isn't like they said earlier, all doom and gloom. Like, this is a good thing. This is a continuation of your education. This is an investment in your career and your future, and something that you should be excited about the opportunity for. So we're just kind of going through the semantics and the details to give you all of the tools you need to be successful. So with that, we're going to close out today. I hope that you all, oh wait, I'm seeing one last question here. For students graduating in January, can they apply in this cycle, or do they have to wait until next cycle?
I'll take that. You're most likely going to have to wait until the sites that are going to be posted early next winter, and there always are, because there's several off-cycle sites and then new sites that pop up. The one exception I will say is if a site is willing to wait, to January to start you, but most
No,
of
I
the
think,
sites.
Dr. Saunders, I think the question was if they graduate this January.
Oh, you mean they're graduating this month?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. So you can absolutely apply to any of the sites, as long as you are also taking NPLEX in August. So the thing would just be, can you be licensable by October 1st?
And yeah, that's the key. And that also goes whether the state where the program is pre-licensing or not. I've had students in the past who say, "Oh, well, I've been matched to this clinic site or this facility in Indiana." Well, Indiana is a pre-licensing state. Why do I have to pass the boards? Well, it's a requirement because that's what the CNME requires. That if for you to have an official residency, you must be able to pass the boards.
Thank you. One last question came in privately to me via chat. Would somebody be able to speak to setting up your own residency? So when materials would need to be received, what that process is like?
I'll probably take that. If you're interested in starting your own residency, key thing is first to approach the individual school residency director. If you're interested with working with me, just send me an email, and I could send you the universal site application. And then I'll also walk you through what their key requirements are. I usually ask for at least maybe 10-15 minute conversation because there's some detail to it. But the key is to connect with your school residency director, and then and if you're in a school where it doesn't have it, say you're with NUHS, for example. And feel free to connect with any one of us. We'll be more than happy to help you out, and then walk you through the site application process, give you some key timelines and some key pointers.
Thank you all. Well, on that note, I'm really appreciative of everyone here taking their time on a Sunday. And thank you all for being interested in these residencies. So we're going to close out today. And a big thank you to the panel for taking time to help folks get the tools they need to be good applicants. So with that, have a great rest of your weekend, and wish you all the best of luck in this process. Take care.
Okay, bye,
Good luck,
everybody.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.